Hello and welcome to Kushti TV, the straight talking YouTube channel. Yes, what have I got in store for you today? Yes, I'm going to be talking classic fights, as classic tales to classic fights, okay? Yeah, they're not only classic fights, they've all got a really good tale to them, yeah? So I'm going to talk 5 classic fights, yes, with a classic tale. And my first fight, I'm going to put a name to each fight, yes? And the first one I've deemed Bloody Sunday. It happened in 1971 in Bedfordshire between two English Romany travellers, one by the name of John Stanley and one by the name of Tom Taylor. Yes, John Stanley, Tom Taylor, better known as Boxer's Tom. John Stanley, bigger man than Tom by a bit, a couple of stone or so, and yeah, there were many fights happened that day, but between brothers, and uncles, and relatives, etc., cousins. But the main fight I have dubbed Bloody Sunday. Yes, it took place in Bedfordshire on a Sunday. And why have I called this classic fight Bloody Sunday? Well, it went on for some, wait for this, 2 hours. It's the longest fight and Gypsy bare knuckle history that I had known in England. I've heard of other fights maybe going a bit longer in Ireland and other places, but to my knowledge, here in England, it was the longest fight ever recorded, yeah? And the story goes on. Of course, this was in 1971, the year I was born, but I had so many of my friends and family there. This legendary story lives on and on and on. Of course, I know Tom Taylor, a Boxer's Tom, yeah, and I get on well with Tom when I see him here and there. I know him a bit, and I see John around, John Stanley a bit, and I get on well with John when I see him around. But this classic fight went on for some 2 hours, yeah, and yeah, what was the tale of the story? Well, of course, the length of it, the duration, they were throwing blow for blow, either one refusing to give in. But what was really different about this fight was that John Stanley couldn't fight with his shoes on. They were too uncomfortable, he wasn't comfortable enough, and he'd taken his shoes off. And the only way that this fight would come to an halt on this, what would be Sunday, what would then be a Bloody Sunday, was for the mere fact that Tom Taylor, Boxer's Tom, could no longer see, and there was blood everywhere. But further to the blood wasn't only in the facial areas. Apparently, John Stanley had been fighting so long on the soil or the tarmac or gravel, I'm not sure of the surface, but whatever it was, his feet should look a bit like this at the bottoms. They were completely raw flesh, so his whole skin had taken off his feet, so he was in he had bloody feet and they both had bloody faces. And this classic fight, Tom Taylor was forced to retire. He couldn't see anymore through injury, and that the tale is the Bloody Sunday. That was a classic fight. Tom Taylor forced to retire through he couldn't see anymore. A great fight. I don't think they become close friends, it's fair to say, but the air was not clear. They never had any grievances from that day to this. They went about their daily businesses. But in credit to both men, it's a legendary fight, a folklore fight, and these guys are now in their 70s. But what a pleasure just to hear of this massive long fight. That was a fair fight that ended and it knocked the air clear. Great fight, Bloody Sunday, 2 hours. John Stanley, Boxer's Tom Taylor. Yes, this takes us on to our second classic fight and a tale to the story. Right, the classic fight started at Epsom Downs on Derby Day 1979. A small gambling dispute started in what they call the gambling ring. The gambling ring was literally like a boxing ring where they would spin coins. Only the spinner and the fair play man, to see if the coins had come down correct, were allowed in the ring. But when the gambling debt ensued outside the ring, the fighters were quickly told that if you're going to settle this argument, you settle it right here in the gambling ring. So they had 4 steel posts. Yes, it was between Wally Stockings from London, English Romney Traveller, against Irish Traveller Johnny Doherty. And these boys were both in their teens, in their late teens they were. Wally was already a professional boxer. Johnny Doherty was about to be, and Johnny Doherty carried a little bit of weight. I think Wally had about 1 year. He was about 1 year older. Okay, it was in 1979. Classic fight. Johnny Frankham, Gypsy Johnny Frankham, the former British light heavyweight champion. Yes, he was the fair play referee. So the fight took place, and the crowd gathered quickly. You know, they just really gathered quickly, and they were looking for a vantage point. Yeah, so Johnny Doherty, his uncle, these guys knew each other's families because Simon Doherty would be Johnny Doherty's uncle, and he was good friends with Wally's dad, Muggy. They had travelled together and so, yeah. Okay, so they knew of each other. So a fair fight took place, no bad blood out, just the boys having a go. And yeah, so people were looking for vantage points, yeah, to get involved. This is Johnny Doherty, now the first cousin of Paddy Doherty, the famous fighter. Yeah. Okay, right. So they're going away and they're having a great fight, but people are really loving it and they're looking for vantage points. And by the gambling ring, and now the fight ring, was a van. Well, people had made their way on top of this van, yeah, for a vantage point of the great fight that was taking place. Yes, and apparently it was one of the best fights ever seen at Epsom Downs, and it was a great fight, and Wally Stockings become victorious after some 15 or 20 minutes, I think. A good fight, a really good fight had taken place, but the tale of the story, they shook hands. I think when they meet, they're still good friends, you know, they say hello and they're very respectful of each other, so all ended well. But there was a vehicle there, people were taking advantage point of this van. It was an A35 van, and the roof was squashed, almost like you get a can of Coke and you can press it, an empty can, and it was squashed down. And after the fight had finished, it turned out to be Wally's dad's van, Muggy's, yes. So people went, the youngsters said, "Hi, Uncle Muggy, look at your van, it's squashed." He said, "The roof squashed in, it's ruined." And he replied, this is the funny side to it, he replied, "Yeah, if they want to use it for a grandstand next year, they can use it again for a grandstand. That's fine." Elated with his boys win, and so sadly, just a few days after that, he would tragically lose his life with Wally's dad. But anyway, that was another classic fight I had dubbed Grandstand Finish, Epsom 1979. Yes, our next classic fight, yes, between a couple of people I know, and I've dubbed this fight Snatch. Yes, why have I dubbed it Snatch? Yes, it was 1987, again, it was Epsom Downs, and again one of the classic great fights seen at Epsom Downs. It involved 2 professional boxers, one English Romney Traveller, Bobby Frankham, against Irish Traveller, Bibby Ward. Bobby Frankham moved around a bit, often stayed in Newmarket. I think he was born in Bedfordshire. Bobby, a friend of mine, and Southampton-based Irish Traveller, Bibby Ward, who had also had the pleasure of being out with and being a friend in his company. So I knew both well. I knew Bobby better, but I knew Bibby as well. Nice fellas. Anyway, this fight happened. Bobby Frankham, light heavy in the pro ranks, and Bibby smaller, more like a welter. But you know what knuckle fighting's like, there's no weight divisions, and they went at it, and it was a great fight. But the reason I've given this fight the name Snatch, Bibby had all the art in the world given away to the very skillful Bobby Frankham and the bigger Bobby Frankham. The actual film Snatch, Brad Pitt had stayed for 1 week with Bobby Frankham to learn some of the knuckle fighting carry-ins on and what would happen. Yeah, so Bobby was explaining what had happened and how things happened and stuff. And there's a famous scene in the fight Snatch, yeah, where he grabs somebody's cigarette and starts smoking during the fight. Well, he got this scene This is the tale. This is the tale behind the classic fight. Bobby Frankham was going away, boxing away, and he was in the crowd, and he literally snatched a cigarette and started smoking as he was having a go with Bibby Ward. And yeah, in fairness, I think Bibby showed, whilst finishing second, best in the exchange, he showed all the art in the world. I think eventually they called it a draw, but it was a classic fight, the one I named Snatch, between Bobby Frankham, Bibby Ward, and yeah, I think no bad blood after. The guys see each other around and say hello in house scenes and whatever. But yes, the very scene you see in Snatch, Brad Pitt, they got from Bobby Frankham from his encounter on the famous fight, 1987, Epsom Downs. Yeah, I'm in control here. Give us a cigarette. Yes, another classic fight. Classic fight took place in West London in 1989, and I've dubbed this one I'm in Stitches. Yeah, you know when something makes you laugh. I'm in Stitches for a different reason. This fight, I'm in Stitches, in 1989 November, included myself. Yes, it's still spoke about as a classic fight. I was taking on Cliff the Champ Eastwood, who is a cousin. Yes, you know what it's like in our world, silly minor rel, and the way we go. Family dispute, whatever. And the way we go, of course, he was weighing in, I was weighing in at heavyweight, he was weighing in at light heavyweight. I was just over my 18th birthday, and he was on his 24th or 5th birthday, I think. Anyway, the way we go, cold, late afternoon, midweek afternoon, on Monday I think, yep, November, West London, Gypsy side, Cranford, scene set, away we go. Champs is beautiful left hand, boom, boom, through the guard, boom, 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 boom. And he's boxing beautifully because he was a beautiful boxer, and he's catching me, cut here and cut there and cut here and cut there. Anyway, this fight continues, and you know, it's like a running race. He goes off out there, and after sort of some 20 minutes or so, he's probably doing all his work, and I'm now sort of warming up, and maybe he's slowing up. And then it's my turn to get some success, and eventually I grind down the victory after some 43 minutes. Somebody had timed the fight, and he just had a minor cut across the eye, and his jaw was quite badly sort of discolated and out here a bit, looked a bit like the Elephant Man. But as for me, I had stitches here, and almost seemed everywhere. So I said, right, yeah, okay then, cousin, that's done now, we'll shake hands, and I'll see you in the pub. And my sister said, you can't go to the pub just yet. I said, yeah, I'm going to the pub. You can't go to the pub just yet. And this is the tell to the story of the fight that many still talk about as a classic fight. I go to my local hospital in West Middlesex, Isleworth, and I'm waiting to be stitched, and I really now just want to get my stitches done. I get back to the party, okay, because I'm meant to meet Champ back there and many more, and we're all going to have a good night out, because it's all done now, and that's the good side of it. So I'm waiting, and they said, we've got no nurse to assist us with the needle and the anaesthetic and the thread. And the referee and fair play man, the legendary Jimmy Stockings, had taken me to the hospital because he was the referee, and he said, I've had plenty of stitches, I'll be your nurse. I'll act as your nurse, and I know how needle and cotton works and anaesthetic. So you can imagine today, health and safety rules, it would have never happened in a million years. But this is the classic tell. So he says, he's thread of needle and cotton. So yep, you give him 3 in that one, give him 4 there, and a couple there, and he's literally acting like a doctor's assistant and stitching me up. Unbelievable. It would never happen. But it doesn't quite end there. We go back to the pub. So I meet Champ and I meet all the boys, and we're going along about our business, and we're having a wonderful time. Now it's time to go. So I say, right, okay, see you, and I go to shake one of my last mate's hands. He's sitting down. As I go to shake his hand, he leaps up as I go down, and he headbutts me straight on this cut here that needed like 5 or 6 stitches. Straight down there, and the whole lot's open again, and burst open the blood. And that's a classic tale. It had me in stitches, literally, and it still makes me laugh. 1989. Yes. Okay, and I'm going to move on to my final classic fight. I hope you're enjoying this. It takes me in West London in a sort of, how can I put it? We're basically in a field. I've got to referee 5 fights. Yeah, I'm referee here. And this fight I have dubbed, it's a classic fight, it's a modern classic, it's 2010. This particular fight I have deemed the best seat in the house. 2010, yes, we've had to find a discreet place for this fight to take place, because I have to referee 5 fights. I'm not fighting, I'm just refereeing. 2010, what's it, 12 years ago now. So this is a modern classic, if you like. And it was between the legendary Knuckle fighter, Jimmy Smith really, but goes under the name of Stockings. His son, Jimmy Smith, professional boxer, against another fella called Wally Eastwood, yeah. A nice lad and distant cousin. Wally Eastwood boxed for England, and Jimmy went on to challenge for the Southern Area professional title. But at this stage, Wally was, I think, 22 and Jimmy was 17. And when I dubbed this fight the best seat in the house, I was the referee right there. And I can tell you right here and right now, in many knuckle fights you see people moving around and around and around and around. In this particular fight, yeah, I literally never had to move more than half a yard. Yeah, they maybe just circled as they twisted, throwing lever. It was certainly the best fight I'd seen, and it was a cracking fight, and it was blow for blow, nothing really in it. They were both skilled boxers, and arguably Wally Eastwood maybe a little bit more skillful. Arguably, the tough young Jimmy Smith, the son of the legendary hard man Jimmy Stockings, he toughed out the result. He just wasn't going anywhere. The punches landed, wasn't meaning anything. But after about some 20 minutes of a beautiful fight, young Wally Eastwood brought a great fight to the table, and they'd shaken hands and had given best to young Jimmy. But I dubbed this fight the best seat in the house, because it's the best fight I'd seen, and I was right there, literally 2 feet away. You know, I didn't have to move at all, and it was a cracking fight. But further to this classic tale, best seat in the house, I got champagne bought by that party, and the other party up the road had more champagne and ice. When they see me, they said, "You've done a great job at reffing, see him fair play, see him fair and fit." So what a seat. You imagine going to a boxing match ringside, that's good. And going to a knuckle fight, it's really good, and you're about 2 foot from it. It really was the best seat in the house. And I got champagne by both parties, and more importantly, these lads remained friends, and they knocked the air clear. So the good thing about these, I really hope you've enjoyed these stories, these classic stories and tales of fights of yesteryear. But more importantly, all parties moved on without any bad blood, just went on with their lives, either being really good friends, yeah, or just that fight was there on that day, uninterfering with their lives after. So, and that's the beautiful thing about it, the air is not clear. That's it. We don't really want trouble, we don't really want violence, do we? But if you're going to do it, surely that's the way to do it. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Yes, I'll keep giving. Keep subscribing. Bye for now.